Imagine you're a wolf. You're running through a deep, snowy forest in the dead of winter. Your breath is misting in the freezing air, your paws are sinking into the powder, and you are hunting. But you aren't running alone. To your left, your sister is pacing you perfectly. Ahead, your mother is steering the path, and behind, your younger brother is keeping watch. You don't need to look at them to know exactly what they are doing. You can feel the collective rhythm of the family. And then you stop because you realize something. A mile away, there is a modern human, an individual of a species that prides itself on being the pinnacle of civilization. And yet, that human is completely alone, deeply stressed, and desperately trying to figure out how to navigate their world by dominating everything and everyone around them. What do you do with that observation? Do you feel a sense of pity? Do you find it strange? Do you look at this bizarre, isolated creature and think, how do they survive when they don't even know how to be a family? Or is it just nothing? Just noise in the wind? That question, whether humans actually have something profound to learn from wolves, sounds like a romanticized cliche.
A fairy tale from a Jack London novel. But the answer is one of the most eye-opening scientific rabbit holes you can ever fall into. And by the end of this video, I promise you'll never look at a wolf or human leadership the same way again. Let's go. First, let's dismantle one of the most stubborn and toxic myths in modern culture, the idea of the alpha wolf. I know you've heard it. The hyper-aggressive, dominant male who claws his way to the top through violence and intimidation, ruling his pack with an iron fist. We've built an entire subculture of human masculinity and corporate leadership around this concept. People call themselves alphas, write books about alpha mindsets, and train their dogs using dominance theory. But here is the twist. The alpha wolf does not exist. The concept was popularized by a wildlife biologist named L. David Meck in his 1970 book, The Wolf. But Meck's early research was based on studying captive wolves. These were unrelated individuals forced to live together in artificial enclosures. It was the canine equivalent of a high-security prison.
In that unnatural, stressful environment, yes, wolves fought for dominance. They formed brutal, tense hierarchies. But when scientists actually went out and studied wolves in the wild, they realized they had made a massive scientific blunder. In the wild, a wolf pack is not a corporate ladder. It's a family. The alphas are simply the parents, the mother and the father. Their leadership isn't maintained through throat-biting and physical submission. It's maintained through guidance, care, and mutual trust. L. David Meck literally spent the next 30 years of his life trying to get his own book out of print and begging the public to stop using the term alpha. Yet, we overcorrected in our popular culture. We held on to a broken metaphor of dominance while completely ignoring the beautiful cooperative reality of what wolves actually live. So, what is that reality? Let's look at how wild wolves actually function as a collective. In places like Yellowstone National Park, where wolves have been studied intensely for decades, biologists have documented behaviors that look startlingly like a highly advanced, empathetic social safety net. Consider what happens when a wolf gets injured. In the wild, a solitary predator with a shattered leg or a deep kick wound from an elk is a dead predator.
They cannot hunt, they cannot run, they cannot survive. And yet, wild wolves routinely survive catastrophic, life-threatening injuries. How? Because their packmates actively nurse them back to health. When a wolf is too injured to keep up with the daily, grueling travel of the hunt, it stays behind at a sheltered den site. The rest of the pack will travel miles, hunt, gorge on the kill, and then travel all the way back to regurgitate food directly to the injured member. They don't abandon the weak. They don't cast them out as liabilities. In some documented cases in Yellowstone, elderly wolves who could no longer run or hunt at all lived for years, supported entirely by the food brought back by their children and siblings. And these elderly wolves weren't just taken. They contributed in other ways, like babysitting the pups or using their decades of experience to help plan territories and navigate rival packs. Let that sink in for a second. This isn't cold, mechanical instinct. This is a calculated, deeply emotional choice to invest resources into an individual's survival simply because they are family. It's a masterclass in social welfare, executed by a species we have spent centuries demonizing as bloodthirsty monsters. But it goes even deeper than caring for the sick. Wolves have a highly sophisticated code of conduct, especially when it comes to social play.
Play only works if there is trust. When playing, a large adult wolf will engage in role reversal with a tiny puppy. They will lie on their backs and allow the weaker pup to win the play fight. They use the play bow to communicate, "I am not a threat." If a peer puppy refuses to play fair, the other puppies will actively shun them. They have built a working model of justice and cooperation without courts or prisons. Now, let's scale this up to the macro level of the entire planet. In 1995, biologists reintroduced gray wolves to Yellowstone National Park. What happened next is a mind-blowing ecological event, a trophic cascade. Without wolves, the elk had overgrazed the valleys and trees had vanished. But when wolves returned, they changed the elk's behavior.
The vegetation began to regenerate. The trees grew back. With the return of the trees, the songbirds and the beavers returned to build dams, and the rivers actually changed their physical paths because stabilized banks stopped eroding. A single predator reshaped the geography. They are a keystone species. True strength lies in balance. But are they really noble family units? Wolves are still predators. Their loyalty has a dark side. They are brutally hostile to rival packs. If we copy wolves blindly, we run the risk of falling into extreme tribalism. But humans can expand the boundaries of our pack to the global family. And this brings us to the myth of the lone wolf. In human culture, we think a lone wolf is a rugged, independent hero. But in reality, a lone wolf is a tragedy in constant mortal danger. Their entire goal is to find a mate, start a family, and build a new pack. Our modern society glorifies isolation, and then we wonder why we are so tired. The ultimate form of resilience is standing together. Wolves show us that leadership is about protection, not power and dominance. We don't need to rule with an alpha fist. We need to learn to run with the pack. You don't have to be a lone wolf. You just have to find your pack. And maybe, just maybe, make the world a little more cooperative. Let's make it a good one.